Well, I'm delighted to have Jericho Sunfire here today. I've just kind of met him fairly spontaneously and randomly at a vegetarian echo show, the biggest in the country, in the UK. And this guy kind of fascinates me. He's right in front of me, and he spent a lot of time in the States, but fundamentally born and raised in London. And his story is an intriguing example of what happens when you follow your heart in a particular path. And I'd just like to introduce Jericho Sunfire and find out a little bit more about you. I think there's maybe a lot of people that have heard about your work, but maybe want to understand more about who the man is behind the concept, or behind the raw food, or the breatharianism, or some of the practices you've been doing for a while. Do you want to talk a little bit about your journey and what it's been like?
Oh.
Or when it kind of kick-started this kind of whole new direction?
You want to know the man behind the black hat, huh? It started off as a fruitarian back in the days. It was totally unexpected, and it was the first moment that I recognised I had intuition. And in the coming years, it was that intuition that saved me and got me through this whole quagmire of diet and the whole emotional attachment to food that this society has.
So before you were doing the predominantly fruit diet, what were you doing before? Everything but.
Everything but. I'm a former professional rugby league player. The reason why I say that is not to brag, but I was into the whole fitness programming.
Yes.
The whole eat big to get big situation. I was into the whole eating meat. Nutrition was eating meat.
Yes.
And which was causing me to become toxic, become inflamed. It gave me the impression of muscle mass.
Yeah.
Which gave me more confidence and more, let me think of a word. It gave me
bravado comes to mind.
Everything, self-esteem, bravado. Yeah. It gave me more aggression to hit harder, to be sharper, to sprint. So I was all into that, and then my body just basically something clicked. A switch was clicked, and I was activated. And
this is when you say your intuition kicked in.
Yes, it was like my view of it is the universe. It was my time, divine timing. It was my time to make the change. I strongly believe to this day that alongside that I downloaded information to the effect that I needed to make a change, because there was going to be a catastrophic event in the future that would mean shortage of food, water. I say shortage, if any at all.
You don't mean just for yourself, you mean kind of planetarily?
For the planet.
Yeah. For
the planet, and I had to make a change, and I had to make a choice. I was either going to do what everyone else was doing and get what everyone else was getting, or I could make the change and make a commitment to breaking free and liberating myself
from conventional food addictions.
Exactly.
And all the problems that creates.
Exactly. But when you're in that situation, that's not how you see it. You know, when you're in that situation, you just see it as normality. It's normal. So
what was the main thing that happens? You were on your conventional no pain no gain, fully meat eating diet, and then you kind of had the intuition to kind of hang on. I'm going to push all that behind me and just jump on the fruits. That was purely an intuitive move, or did you get information at the same time?
Pain mixed with a bit of intuition.
Yeah, sure.
And my body just said no. It was just that time. Like I say, the switch was flipped, and it was just that time. My intuition kicked in. I mean, I was all of a sudden I was feeling the effects of living this standard lifestyle. And when I look back, I was always feeling that way. I just wasn't aware or sensitive enough, and the switch wasn't flipped enough for me to feel it, to know it, to take action. Yeah. And I decided to take action, because it was really a no-brainer.
So what was your next action step? You became a fruitarian, and what was the next action step, the next refined move within your path?
I went out, got some fruit, and it was when I came back and ate it, it was like the Holy Grail. I found the Holy Grail. It was the answer to everything. It was just like an intuitive, instinctive relief. And it was like, okay, this is the way to go. You followed your intuition, congratulations, keep going.
Yeah.
You know, and that went on for like a week. Everything was fine and dandy until detox kicked in. And the whole, it was then I kind of came into first contact with all the failings of the raw food movement, in terms of the lack of concrete, consistent information.
Yes.
And you know, over the years, maybe a period of 1 to 5 years, it was a constant on and off battle. Not knowing where I was coming or going. The raw food community, in terms of discussion boards, were inconsistent, were in-house fighting, you know, just people detoxing, venting.
To be fair, that's not specific to anything related to raw food, but nutrition generally is a big mire of confusion, right?
Okay.
And politically, economically, these are trends, but I understand exactly what you're saying.
Very true.
So you're kind of gradually getting these detoxes, which kind of maybe push you away from the fruits.
No.
You just kind of appreciated what it was. And
intuitively, I always knew that I was safe. There was no harm. It was just I had to knuckle up, had to man up, and just get on with it. I had to brush past all the myths, urban legends, things that people said would happen to me. I mean, high-profile gurus told me I would die if I didn't have the green supplements within 2 months of just fruits. And
that's pretty powerful scare tactics, to be honest.
It was predictable.
Yeah.
And that was a confirmation to me that said, you know what, leave all this alone, listen to your own self, because I was feeling something different and it wasn't matching up to what everyone else was saying. So I had the awareness to do that.
So how did that? Because obviously where you are right now, I mean, you have a following that reveres you for your breatharian path. So how do you bridge from your raw kind of fruitarian stage to the breatharian? What happened in between?
Liquidarianism.
Yes. Was that fruit juices or greens as well?
No, just strictly fruit juices.
Okay.
The whole fruitarian
so the whole thing it's been entirely
was just fruits,
consistent, yeah.
As in just pick it off the tree and eat it.
Sure.
It's one thing I must say. It was a lot of trial and error, a lot of mistakes, a lot of stubbornness, a lot of quitting, going back and forth, a lot of hard work. Like I say, information just wasn't there. Personally, to me, I was always going against the grain, so my experience was always going to be new to me.
Yes.
So I couldn't go to anybody and say, okay, what do I eat for this? What's the best for this? For muscle growth, what's that? What's detox? And X, Y, Z. You know, so the option just wasn't available. So I had to listen to my own intuition. Years down the line, with all the abuse, with all the, like you say, scare tactics, urban legends, I got through to liquidarianism.
Just using a juicer?
Using a juicer at times, or just cutting oranges. For most of it, just cutting oranges in quarters and sucking the juice out.
Okay.
And that was wonderful. I loved it. It was an amazing experience.
The ultimate fast food, eh?
Yes, just chop, gone. You know, and composting the waste.
Sure.
And then from there, made the evolution to breatharianism.
And what happens between those steps? Because it's a big step. It's a step that most people don't even know exists.
It's a huge step, and I could go on forever and a day. Really.
What about the next 2 minutes? What can we say in 2 minutes about what? So I get the feeling, because I really kind of sensing how much you were intuitively guided. So I get the feeling it was another kind of like big, almost like a leap of faith. But you know, you had the faith in your intuition.
It was hard work. It was hard work following this leap of faith. I decided to follow my own intuition. I had no idea what this intuition was. I just knew it felt right, and I went with it.
Had you connected with previous information or teachers on breatharianism before? Not at all.
It was just my gut instinct.
So you didn't even know what the word meant at the time, but you had to kind of you had to look up what you were doing, and it turned out you were doing breatharianism.
Yeah,
reverse engineering.
breatharianism, I knew what it was because I came into contact with it as a liquidarian.
Mm-hmm.
Fruitarianism, I didn't know what it was.
Yeah,
I
sure.
thought I made the word up.
Okay.
And liquidarianism and breatharianism, I found out as I went along.
Yes.
But in terms of teachers, XYZ, I was always going against the grain.
Mm-hmm.
So nobody wanted
Sure.
to support me or had faith in me, and you know. Breatharianism came along under duress. I didn't want to do it.
Mm-hmm.
I was so against it. Didn't think it was natural.
When the idea came up, you mean?
I got the calling for breatharianism probably while I was in the middle of liquidarianism, and I would have spurts of it.
Yes,
So
as in fasting.
Yeah, fasting and extended fast.
Fasting from water as well?
Eventually, yeah,
Yes.
in the latter stages. And then I went back to liquids, you know, because I saw it as a failure.
Mm.
But really I was just getting the inklings, I was just getting the exposure, the activation to it. And then when I was ready, again that switch would flick, bang, I was ready, and it was natural. Because a big misconception is that you restrict, it's something you do, it's something you plan, there's a method to it. For me there was no method, and that's how I learned it. And to this day now, I've been a year and a half, no solids, no water, and it's pure liberation, freedom in every single way. And to this, for me, the only obstacles are how you deal with the social aspects and the resistance, and your own self-limiting thoughts.
So, are you saying you've had no water for a year and a half, or is that for actually a year and a half, nothing has entered your lips?
No external water. Me, I would say, I always tell people that I swallow my spit.
Sure. And maybe a little bit of water vapour in the atmosphere.
Exactly, yeah. So I don't really attach myself to the label breatharianism because there's so much more to it.
Yes.
You know, the sun, the atmosphere, the vapours, you know, from what I understand, what's in the vapours is everything the body needs. And after that, my experience is that the body recycles. You know, to me, when you start to put like things like cooked food, then you distract and you drain, you mess the whole recycling thing up, because now your body has to give, to use what you put in your body.
Well, to work to assimilate and then eliminate, which is a big energy process.
Yeah, so you've given away what you are supposed to be recycling. So you have to, you get caught in this whole replacing theory thing.
So, I mean,
that's just my opinion.
Yeah, for me, the things that are coming up with listening to the whole story of breatharianism is, it's like when someone has sight and then goes blind, the other faculties become more sensitive. Right. So do you feel that for example, your previous abilities to absorb sunlight, the full spectrum of the sunlight, to take in and utilise the high quality, negatively charged oxygen in the atmosphere and the water vapour, to absorb the ground prana, the natural electromagnetism of the earth itself, have all increased.
Oh, very much
to
so.
To obviously counterbalance the fact you're no longer getting energy from other sources.
My layman's terms is that you take cooked food out of the equation, your body can do what it's supposed to do. All of that stuff I don't know, all the technical stuff I don't know, and to be honest with you, I don't really care to know. My thing is that I just live. I let my body do all that stuff. You know, I'm not very clever, and I just don't want all that stuff in my brain. So my thing is just to live, and that's exactly right. Your senses, your body takes over, you know, and does what it originally is supposed to be doing. And thankfully, my body is in a condition that it can do that.
Have you ever? I assume you've come across the world's most famous sun gazer, HRM, who's basically put himself up for intense research. I think the longest one he did was a year and a half, actually.
Something like 100 days. Right?
Something like this, yeah. Various universities, Johns Hopkins University, and the idea of people living without food is becoming quite prevalent. Actually, I've just been noticing people sending me a few YouTube videos even. Have you checked out this? Have you checked out this? Guys in India, guys in the Philippines, guys in Mongolia, this type of thing. And before you know it, you've got thousands and sometimes millions of hits looking at people that actually fundamentally are expressing this type of concept. And there's a long lineage of people that have been doing this for a while. So do you feel that you're part of a lineage, or do you feel that you're so pioneering the individualistic that you're doing your own thing and it's not about following a lineage? Do you believe that maybe you are the holder of a baton to show people that there are other ways of existing?
That's a double-edged sword, because if you ask me, I'd say hell no. But I personally know the universe, that is my role, my purpose at this moment in time, is to be the physical example. It's not to be the teacher, it's not to be the guru, it's just to be the example, to show the possibilities.
Yes. This is a key thing, because for me, whether something can be fundamentally proved or disproved in individuals or in circumstances, the more liberating idea is that there is a possibility, a theoretical or potential possibility for something to exist, you know? And the idea, I don't know, I was just thinking about it while you were speaking, whether we know what gravity is or whether we know how it works. Fundamentally, it keeps every single one of us here on Earth, not flying up into the atmosphere. And I get the feeling it's the same thing with a lot of these forces you're talking about. We don't actually need to fundamentally understand, although interesting as it is to understand how they're working, but they all keep us in a position of relative vitality, and it's up to us how much vitality we have by obviously eliminating things that are constricting our connection to these things. So, well, it's been fascinating just listening to kind of the whole situation here, and I'm sure in the future we will do another interview, a more kind of comprehensive one, but thank you so much for a lovely conversation.